this way, that way. Yeah, hello. Hold on. There we go, hello. How is everybody doing? How's things? How's life? How's yours? How's your week been? Let us get all set up. Right, yes, hello. How is everybody doing? How's things? Hello, Simon. I'm just happy you're here. um, yeah, hello, welcome. How is everybody doing? Unsurprisingly, I've been busy. Apparently making a lot of noise by the sounds of it, but it's a little box of weights, little weights, because I'm making another tool, and I need nicely calibrated little weights. See, 20 grams, or 10 grams, or even 5 grams. Very thin. Yeah. Do you know, I do lift. I can lift all 150 grams or whatever it is just with my pinky. I can pinky curl. I can pinky bench these all of these grams. But hello-ish. How you doing? How's things? How has your week been? Forewarning, especially if anyone is watching this as a VOD, the 22nd of May is a Thursday, so it's 2 weeks from today. I will not be streaming then, probably, because you know how I had eye surgery. Well, I'm gonna have eye surgery, and we'll see how it goes. It might be a suitable distraction, but also it might be real bad. So we'll see. All right, we'll see. So yeah, I'm good. Glad poop day is over. Okay, it wasn't that bad, but it was late. Fair. And 2 weeks from today, right? We'll forget. No worries. Yeah, I'll let you know if I'm not streaming. I'll do a community post and mention it in the Discord. I had to carry 16 2x1 meter stage panels up 2 flights of stairs into a venue and then back out again. My week has been great. Wonderful. That's 2x1 meters is how big a solar panel is. So I'm imagining, like, they're not heavy, but damn, they're cumbersome. So I can only imagine having to carry, what, 16 of those up and then down 2 flights of stairs. Wouldn't be an enjoyable activity. Yeah. One would not use solar for a stage, no, but it is a frame of reference. Having put 3 solar panels up in my garden. Oh dear. I've learned some dangerous information, so I kind of want to get air conditioning installed. One basically just off frame there, and then one in the bedroom, as a multi-split dual head unit. So one unit outside, 2 units inside, and so the problem I have is that I can buy one of those units with like pre-made lines and all that sort of stuff for around about £1,000, right? Like, give or take, it might be like 11 or 1200 once you include brackets, anti-vibration mounts, a longer line kit for the second one because it's got to go a bit further, stuff like that. You know, there might be some a touch of extra cost, but you're looking at like about 1,000, give or take, right? The problem is that you need an F-gas certified installer to install it. At least when it comes to like when we come to sell the home, I need a certificate to be able to say yes, this was installed correctly, even though it's just hooking up some lines and running some power. Like it's not very complicated, which is part of the problem. But I got some quotes for how much it costs to have a professional come and install it, and they want $3.5 to $4 to install a £1,000 unit. So the real dangerous information is, do you know how much it costs to go on an F-gas certified course and get certified? It's under £1,000. Yeah. So the thing ish is that those units actually come pre-filled with all the refrigerant in them, and the lines are pre-vacuumed anyway. At least that's my understanding. So you literally just bolt it all together and that's it. But even if not, you don't pressure test it, you vacuum test it. So you'd vacuum the whole system. You then pour in the right amount of oil for the compressor, if because when you vacuum it out, you often vacuum out all of that oil, and then you just fill it with the stated amount of refrigerant, which is really simple. You just put the bottle on the scales, you open the valve, you let the right amount in, you shut it all off. That's pretty much it. So yeah. Hello Chris, hello Essentialist, and hello B Right. How you guys doing? Panels are around 32 kilograms each. Yeah, that's more than a solar panel for sure. Really not fun. I can only imagine. But yeah, I did ask about a couple. I did ask a couple of them if they would certify an installation, and they said no. They said they need to be the ones to have installed it. So yeah, some of them won't even install a customer supplied unit either. Which, to be fair, as like I can understand why. Most customers aren't me. Most customers, if they just buy the unit, cool. But if you want to wall mount it, you need the wall mounting brackets. You also probably want the anti-vibration mount, so you need those two. You might need longer line kits, you might need extensions, you might need a whole bunch of other stuff. So I understand why they don't, but it is annoying when I'm often the exception that probably proves the rule for most things. But yeah. So when's the gas course then? I'm not that far down the rabbit hole yet. But maybe. Oh dear. Hello Jim. How you doing? Essentialist, how's it going? Well. So as part of the unspecified treatment, for the unspecified condition, it's really funny that I'm being as cryptic as I am because it's stupid. But anyway, as I've mentioned, the treatment for this condition is two-part: a gel and an injection. I have been on the gel since December, end of December. The injection was something that I had to go through an entire month of peak anxiety to try and acquire, and it finally culminated last Friday when, of course, the final step in the hurdle was utterly ridiculous, and I had to inject myself with it because the pharmacies that I went to, like 4 different pharmacies, by the way. The pharmacist that gave me the kit said we're not licensed to, but if the other pharmacist said they do it, then cool. So I went back to the other pharmacist who said that they would do it, and they said, oh no, I never said we would do it. Cool. So I went to a couple of other different pharmacies to check if they would do it, and they both said no. So then I went to my GP surgery, who said, well, we might be able to do it, but not for another month. At which point the medication is probably going to go off, so no. I tried calling up the specialist, who technically was the one to prescribe me the kit, the medication, and even though it was well within working hours, no one at the entire hospital seemed to pick up the phone when I called like 5 different times. So it turns out that the medication was an entire kit where you make up a little vial of the medication with it was in powder form. You then break an ampule, a glass sort of jar of saline. You take your needle, you draw up all the saline, you stab it into the little pot of powder, you push all the saline in, you shake it all up until it's all dissolved, you then draw it all up into the needle, you put a different needle on, and then you stab yourself in the ass with it. So I did that. No, the interesting side effect of this is that while it's actually an injection you only need to do every 3 months, it's very slow release or long acting. For the first couple weeks, your testosterone actually goes up instead of going down. So I am in a currently altered mental state. I feel a bit jacked. And yeah. So sorry if I'm extra crazy on tonight's stream. I can't help it. I've felt crazy for a week at this point. Yes, the programmer condition. Stocks and all. My best friend is a gas engineer. His fee, creative beer. Wonderful. And hello, Simon from Down Under. How you doing? How's things? He learned to cook meth day the next week on the gas. What for next month? Okay, I did actually do something kind of like clever, and I'm quite proud of this, right? So here's the thing. The tool that I'm building to test keyboards and mice, the whole point is that basically you have, in fact, I have a semi-built up version here. So this is kind of it, right? You have a linear actuator, so if you apply power here, this goes down. There's a force sensor on the end there to detect how much force there is on the key. And then basically a little, keyboard, whatever, goes in there, and then this pushes down on the switch, and, hey presto, right? But the thing is that these linear actuators are 2-wire, as in you just apply power in one direction or another, and that makes this shaft extend. But the problem is, part of the testing that I want to do is to be able to measure the actuation point. So you, especially with Hall effect keyboards, that you can set, 0.1 millimeter of actuation distance or travel distance before it actuates, and anywhere in between. And so I want to be able to tell you, like, run a test and say, actually, this keyboard is nowhere near where you set it to. If you set it to 1 millimeter, it's actually like 1.3 millimeters. Does it really matter? No, but I think it's an interesting way to test, and it's an interesting feature that you currently basically can't test without a $10,000 robot like ARM like Linus has. So I want to make something that I can use and anyone else can get to be able to test that sort of thing. And also you can profile switches, so you'll be able to see the force curve as you push it down, how much force the keyboard pushes back with. Also test latency, and then you should also be able to do mice. So again, you just position it over the mouse, it presses the button, it should be able to tell you the pre-travel distance and do latency. And then you can hold it on the side and have it move the mouse and do sensor latency and accuracy. So that would be a really cool thing. The problem is that all of those tests rely on the accuracy of those motors. And the problem is that these motors are so basic, and also there's slop in them. Like I've opened this one up to fix it, but you can't quite see it, but there is a bit of play there. So what I want to know is how far that shaft has actually moved with any given motor pulse. Now, I know that I can sort of do calibration testing, like I can say, you know, with 9 milliseconds of on time, it moves this much. And it is kind of reliable with that, but especially when you add in the slop that's in there, or the backlash, it'd be really good to have a more accurate way to measure it. And I was thinking, how could I do that? Like, there are versions of these that come with encoders built in, so they tell you how many times the motor has turned, which in theory would tell you how far it's turned, although the slop is actually in the linear part of the mechanism rather than the rest, so it wouldn't. Also, those are like £100 each on the cheap end. These ones are like £8. So I devised a solution. Inside here, on the side with the cables, there's actually a thin little PCB that runs on the inside of this aluminium housing that acts as the sort of end stops, like limit switches on either side. But on the other side, there's actually an empty space. So I glued 2 tiny little magnets on the inside of here, hence X marks the spot. And I have a Hall effect sensor on the outside. So there's a magnet that's at its lowest position sits right about under there, and as this goes up, the magnet moves up too, and the strength of the magnetic field that the Hall effect sensor detects goes down as it goes away and goes up as it comes close. And while this specific sensor isn't the right one, I have more on the way. This basically gives you position accuracy, position feedback for this shaft, no matter how much slop there is in this. You can see that one a bit better. The magnet is attached directly to this. So as it moves up, I can know exactly how far away it is. Isn't that great? And these sensors are like 50 pence a sensor. So I've turned a like £10 sensor into 100, or linear actuator into a £100 one, by just taping a thing on the side and gluing some magnets in the middle. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with that one, if you can't tell. And I've got, I bought, I think it's like 10 different Hall effect sensors, because they come in a couple of different forms. Some of them have a sort of, they start at the middle of their supply and then they go both down and up depending on which sort of, which way the magnet, like which pole it's detecting, but that basically only gives you half resolution. So I've also got some other ones that give you just straight magnetic field from 0 to 3.3 volts basically regardless. And they also come in different sensitivities. So I have, I think there's 4 sensitivities in total, and I've bought 2 or 3, 3 or 4 of them. So I'll test out basically all of those options to see which one actually works the best for this application. Because the other thing is that the magnets and the magnetic strength field has to come through the aluminium, and in this case, aluminium and plastic. So I'm thinking the more sensitive I go, the better a result I will get, the better accuracy I will get. So yeah. So much talk of sloppy shafts. How many would you test? Isn't testing just one inaccurate, or could you test all the keys, which would give you more accurate results? So, especially for mechanical switches, testing multiple keys is probably the better choice, yeah. I haven't finalized the whole, like, stand setup yet, because basically right now, this stand is really designed to fit 1, maybe 2 rows in at a push, depending on what keyboard you have. And, you know, if it's a real thick edge, you might not make it. So I might end up offsetting this further or something. But especially for Hall effect keys, there's, as far as I'm aware anyway, haven't actually done any testing yet, not much difference, but you can certainly position it around the board and do, you know, some on the, if you've got a number pad, the number pad keys, some on the left-hand side, some at the top, some at the bottom, whatever, for sure, yeah. Yeah. Don't you need a bit of slop in the shaft so when the erector bottoms out it doesn't damage anything with its careful probing? So the motor itself has end stops built in, so it can't damage itself. And then from a like me controlling this and probing the keyboard, that's why the force sensor is on there. So basically, I want to be able to map out how much force you're essentially the key is pushing back on the actuator with. And then when you're doing any movement of the actuator, you just move it, read the force, move it, read the force, and if the force exceeds, a reasonable value, basically anything over 100 grams, you stop pushing, basically. And yeah, that's the idea. Does the stiff nub on the end help you locate the elusive NE key? Nice. No, the nub on the end is actually mostly for the force sensor, so that you all of the force from the key switch is being transmitted onto the force sensor's active area, and it's a single point that touches on the keyboard or on the mouse or whatever, but it's a wide contact patch on the force sensor. So you can reach down into cupped keys and stuff like that. In fact, one of the things that I was testing last night actually, is I made these little stands with varying like plinth thicknesses to lay those weights that I showed earlier on. Oh damn, I've taken my wires off. Because I want to basically calibrate the measurements that you get out of this to actual grams or gram force, not just arbitrary curve values. At least ideally, although I don't know, we'll see. I do also kind of want to design my own little like keypad like this, and even if it's just a single key one, and then include that as a like calibration reference sample. But I don't know, we'll see. If I won the lotto, I'd definitely have 5 4090s in a PC. No idea why, if it's even possible, but I'd try. SLI was killed a while ago, so I guess you could have 4 4090s in 5090s in a PC. Like, that is a technical possibility. Although it'd actually be quite difficult because the 5090s are so fat that even if you could find a workstation like a Threadripper board that would have enough PCIe X16 slots with the right spacing, you'd still struggle because they're often triple slot and you just can't fit anything more than double slot in a motherboard. So maybe with risers, but then where are you going to put them? Anyway, you certainly could have them in there, and for certain workloads, like, I don't know, like AI, I guess, and stuff, sure, but you couldn't game on them. Single slot water cooling, if you're okay with cutting off the rear IO shield, sure. Yeah, Threadripper, Epic, or Xeon, yeah. Hello, Booyah. How you doing? How's things? It's easier to get a Maybach 2025 than a 450/90s. Yeah, water cooling scares me. It's great. I water cooled my bed. In fact, I re-water cooled my bed last weekend. I bought thicker tubing, slightly thicker. I think it's 6 mil ID instead of 4 mil ID, which means much better flow rates. I also changed to G14 coolant because the water that was in there got real gross real fast. And so G14 is is what I run in my car. If it works in the car, works in a bed. um, and yeah, so yeah, we haven't used it yet, but it's meant to get a bit hotter this week, so I'll finally be running it in cooling mode instead of heating mode. Although annoyingly, especially since working with motors, one of the things that you start to use with motors is little chips like this. This is a motor driver, but essentially all a motor driver like this is what's called an H bridge, a full H bridge, dual H bridge. So basically, the problem with the bed cooler and the problem with these motors is that you need to be able to turn them on in one way, but also essentially flip the leads and turn them on the other way. And for a motor's case, that's so that you can run it out and then run it back in, or change direction. And in the bed cooler's case, running it one way heats and running it the other way cools. Because Peltier elements. So the point is, what I designed on that PCB was basically just an H bridge, but bad, like with 2 automotive relays and 2 transistors. So yeah, it was a bad design. The problem that I had was mostly just the current capacity, because each of the 4 Peltier modules that are built into that whole cooler can run it up to 6 amps, and so it's really difficult to find like chips like this that run at enough current, and especially H bridges or full H bridges that will run enough current. Although I could just use multiple of them, like I did with the inductors and stuff like that. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm not worried about water cooling, but I tinker way too much to commit to a layout. True. Hello, WAP. How you doing, man? How's things? Any games next to Cyberpunk I should try on my new card? Well, you've already mentioned how bad optimized Starfield is. Yeah, yes, yeah. It's actually much better than it was at launch. It was a train wreck. But yeah. Yeah. Do you think Intel will ever be good again? Intel are screwed. Gamers Nexus 2025. I think we're entering Intel's sort of dark times. The problem with something like CPU development is that it is a long process to make significant changes. So, as an example, AMD screwed up with a Bulldozer and the FX line, and it took them, what, 6-7 years for them to bring it back with Zen and Ryzen. That sort of thing is what's happening with Intel, but worse. And there's also, like, because of the turmoil, because of the, like, decision to cut a load of the benefits and pay and staff, All that sort of stuff means that there's essentially a brain drain. um, those engineers who are the people who actually like know how to make this stuff and are not replaceable in any way, shape, or form. Those people will jump ship to IBM, to AMD, to Qualcomm, to uh, Xiaoxin, and that is decades of knowledge that Intel can't get back easily. Um, and so, yeah, it's a very long road ahead for Intel to make truly competitive chips again. Like, that's not to say that the new uh, anything from Intel in the last 5 years hasn't been competitive, especially the 13 and 14th gen was pretty fast. But when you look at what AMD is doing, not just in desktop with the X3D chips, which is a big advantage right now, but even in the more mobile chips with the Strix Halo like APUs, that's ridiculous levels of performance and efficiency. And so yeah. So yes, I think they can. I just think it's such a long process that it's going to be a while before we see significant gains, And it also kind of depends on AMD's response too, right? Because part of how AMD was able to catch up and overtake Intel was because Intel kind of got complacent, or very least they spent so long trying to make 10 nanometer work and got so deep in that hole that they spent like 7 years on 14 nanometer. um so yeah, and basically the same functional core design for the last 7 or 8 generations, whatever it was, before they actually started redesigning stuff. Yeah. Whoops. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Intel can just use AI. Intel AI PC. Essentialist. One of the Asus, like, go to the Asus page for that graphics card, and there will be a software download, for the RGB Aura software. Yeah, that. Especially for GPUs, I'm pretty sure it's bloatware or nothing. I mean, you can uninstall the bloatware after you're done, but yeah. Uh, Submerge the mineral oil, submerge the room in mineral oil, and use a snorkel. I'm not sure that mineral oil cooling works for like displays and stuff too. Yeah. There are open source RGB tools, but I'm pretty sure those are for like they don't work for embedded RGB like graphics cards and stuff like RAM. But I could be wrong. Feel free to give it a try. I don't have any direct experience with that, so yeah. But my vibe memory says no. Signal RGB is one of them. I'm sure it's Open RGB or something. Can't remember. Just search open source RGB. Sure, it'll come up. Actually, I found a really cool open source tool that lets you test the polling rate of controllers. There we go. Which is really handy because I'm reviewing a new controller that is the most feature-packed controller I have ever seen. It has a display on it, not for like playing games or anything, but for like changing settings. Also, it does Bluetooth pairing even if you've got what you call it? Even if you're using a PC or whatever, you can Bluetooth pair something like your phone to run comms from, and then do like chat and game audio split from the controller. Like it's really cool. Um, so yeah, yeah, it's really cool. It's also not any more expensive than Razer's Wolverine V3 Pro, which is ridiculous considering it has all of the features that Razer's has and a whole lot more. It even has optional weights you can put in the controller if you want it to feel heftier. And it has little weights that you can put on the joystick stems so that you get a better feel. Like, it is just madness. It is a Nacom Revolution X Unlimited. It is tiny little barbells that you click in there. They're so cute. Um, I think it's like 10 grams, 14 grams, or 16 grams is the weights you can put in each side. Yeah, I don't know. Alex, I think I have a similar. I don't have a similar card now, but I did have one. Yeah, I remember that because it really annoyed me because my what you call it PC is in my desk with a glass top. I can see down like from where I sit to like use the computer. Just out of the corner of my eye is the graphics card, and the fans would spin up, the RGB would turn on, and I'd go, "What's that?" Quite annoying. Oh hey, OpenRGB works with both my GPU and MOBO. Nice. That's cool. Fair enough, Alex. Sure, it helps with the performance at least a little too. I mean, isn't it like 3 times the size? What is it, a 4070 Ti Super? I mean, the TDP should be higher. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It is indeed. I'll give you that. Yeah. And the fact that you essentially got it for what was it, 70 years or something is also pretty decent. Hello B. How you doing? How's things? 66 years. Yeah, that was close enough. Um yeah. Fair. I mean, I do find it's useful to have spare graphics cards, but I have some odd use cases. Oh, show. I mean, to be fair, it is probably like 3 a.m. for you, so I can't blame you. Oh yeah, I'm glad ARM companies and soon RISC-V, uh, so that we don't need Intel and AMD to keep innovating, unlike when Intel were on top with no peers. Yeah, there's definitely some pressure from non-x86 pushing x86 development in the from both AMD and Intel, for sure. I mean, Gamers Nexus did a video with Wendo from Level 1 Techs, talking about, is x86 cooked, basically. And I thought there was some interesting points. I've been following, especially Jeff Geerling does a bunch of ARM-based systems, including the Ampere Time ones, the System 76 version of the Ampere Time one, and stuff like that. And it's I think Wendell is spot on the money with that there are a number of, especially in the server market, there are a number of sockets that have moved to ARM that will not move back off ARM. Because the interesting thing about like server workloads is that it's quite varied. Like, you think that just the more like with like Threadripper or whatever, thank you, Jim. The more like compute you have, the better, right? But actually, there's a lot of circumstances where you basically just want like really fast access to your storage, right? Like when Netflix is building a streaming box, they don't really care about compute as much because it's all pre-compiled, like all the server has to do really is just be really fast access to hundreds of terabytes of data that's often stored in flash, like on SSDs. And so all you really need is an ungodly amount of I/O. So you have like dual socket Threadrippers for all of the PCIe lanes, but you don't have the 192 core ones. You have the like 32 cores or whatever, like just enough to be able to manage all that I/O and networking, and that's about it. And so there are plenty of use cases where actually ARM, especially from the power efficiency standpoint, from having a whole bunch of cores that are a lot cheaper as well, like, makes sense. Yeah. I've heard ARM is going to take over x86 in the next 3 years for the last 15 years. Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like this is the year of Linux, isn't it? Because it always is and it isn't. There's always improvements, but there's also improvements on both sides. And when you have an incumbent like x86, there is so much. I mean, part of the problem with x86 is that there's so much technical debt behind it. There's so much like ancient compatibility requirements, which on the one hand is really good, but on the one hand it's holding it back. And so it's a bit of a balance. But in the like ARM adoption's case, it's really difficult to get people to move off of like x86 because all the software is compiled for x86, and as Wendell said in the video, like the big bits of software, the really popular stuff, that's probably already either fine or has been recompiled, or even if you're using a translation layer, all of the little quirks and bugs for that program have probably been worked out because it's really popular. But for something niche, or for something custom built for a specific business or whatever, there's a very good chance that just won't work. Or even if it does, it's going to have lots of issues. And so, yeah. I mean, actually, Simon mentions macOS. Apple is a great example of how this can work. How you can transition off of x86. You just have to control the entire fucking ecosystem and force everyone involved into like into submission. And so yeah, like it can work great, sure, but it takes a lot of effort and a lot of money and a lot of time to do, and so that's why any amount of sort of transitioning over is a really slow and often painful process. Yeah, no. um, so yeah, is the next arm going to be called leg? I've never used my laptop so much. I was a desktop or iPad person because I hated having my legs get hot using laptops. MacBook Air is wonderful. I mean, fair enough, yeah. I'm not well. Um, I also don't use my laptop all that much. It's only when I'm traveling or away, or stuck in a hospital bed getting an infusion. Is that bruise healed? It's not quite healed yet, actually. You see it there. Um, so yeah, so I don't use it that much. But for the sort of stuff that I use it for, I'm perfectly happy with it. But if I did want to use a laptop more often, de- depending on my use case, I can very much see why people like MacBooks. Although if I had that sort of money, I'd probably just buy a framework instead. Yeah. Um, I still can't leave Windows 11 running its VM because you still get the sleep bug and the MacBook gets super hot and battery drain. Yeah, that's one of the technical debt things, isn't it? Because that comes from a time when that, like, the way that they set that up made sense at the time, but now it doesn't. Question: what's the FPS per watt like on AMD versus Nvidia? Very much depends on the card. But I'm pretty sure that I think its hardware and box definitely does that sort of or reports that sort of data. If I remember rightly. So you can check that out. Um, uh, 5:37 and just a little bit zombie. I would not be awake at this time. I wouldn't be awake for another what, 3 hours, 4 hours. Um, honk me. Oh dear. Um, yeah. I've literally owned four GPUs in my life: 1050, R9 390, 6650, XT, and now this thing, and the 7600. Yeah, can't forget that one. Um, yeah. Uh, B, thank you for the question. As I mentioned a little earlier, I I've started on the second stage of my as yet unnamed three-letter treatment, um, and it's anti-GnRH blocker injection, um, and it was a pain in the ass, metaphorically and literally, because I had to have it stabbed in my ass. Cheek, mind you. Uh, but one of the first side effects is that your testosterone actually goes up, not down, for a couple of weeks. So I feel I'm in an altered mental state, and I feel kind of jacked. Like I want to go hit the gym and eat some boiled rice and chicken. So yeah, I'm a bit mad this week. And I have another eye surgery booked for not next Thursday, but the Thursday after. So I may or may not stream depending on how much pain I'm in. They did that one last time, and they're going to be doing the other eye this time. I'm going to ask for much better pain meds this time though, so fingers crossed it might be fine. But yeah, we'll see. See how it goes. I'm still using the 7700X and works great for gaming. Nice. And Essentialist, no, I assume that was you. To be honest, not really my thing actually. It was quite a long needle as well. Like the needle was about that long, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't that big, but it kind of felt like it wasn't a tiny pinprick needle. It was a slasher villain needle. So yeah, and yeah, it was a pain because we ended up having to self administer it basically. Yeah. Uh, so the booty jam is what's causing me to feel off, and will do for another week or two, um, and then I will feel better, and I'll be more properly on the journey. Yes, journey. Thank you very much. You know how to refer to it as the booty jab. Yeah, fair enough. I have to have a booty jab every 3 months from now on. Dear. I mean, if mine got any bigger, it'd become a planet. It'd have a gravitational orbit. So I kind of hope not. Any video of me standing, you fuck. Then again, my what is it? Lumbar spondylosis, whatever, does also sort of push it out as well. So yeah. What is this chat? Christ. Oh, dearie me. I'm tired, man. I actually saw a professional voice coach for the first time last week as well. Related to the journey. Gonna sing opera then? God no. Annoyingly, I have I'm kind of tone deaf, and it's not until I record myself and hear it back that I go, God, that's fucking awful. Yeah. At least I can still play guitar and play the drums. Up there. I used to play the trumpet as well. Not just revert back to your Scottish accent. Well, you see, the thing is that can happen at any time. Start having to think about it and start stalling it. Start doing drums. No, it's sick. Actually, it's an electronic drum kit. It's just over there, and we stool and everything. Hope you don't mind. I use ad blocker during your streams. Don't want to be interrupted. Don't mind. The amount of money that I make from these streams, like, is literal pennies. I'm not doing this for the money. So that's remove all traces of Scottish accent. No, not at all. Why is the butt a common injection location? It's because it's a very large muscle. So if you have intramuscular injections, like when you get jabs, you often do them in your arm. It's a reasonable muscle area, but especially for larger intramuscular injections like that, like the booty jab. That one needs basically to go further in and to spread out across a larger area, because it depends how much fluid you're pumping in. There's got to be space in within the muscle for that to dissipate out through. And so you basically, like, with a flu jab or whatever, they're only putting like a milliliter into your arm, and so there's plenty of space in your arm muscle up here for that to go. But in my case, I was pushing, what was it, 5 or 10 milliliters basically into me, and so you need a lot of space for that to go. Thank you very much for the beans. Should cancel premium so I can have ads to block too. Dear me. The irony is that YouTube takes half of that, so so got a jab in the booty, then expand before releasing the good stuff in a steady flow of curing goo. I guess I don't like. There's definitely what you call it. There's definitely a gap in my knowledge, especially for like long release stuff. Because the whole point is that this injection is active for 3 months. How can it stay in your body and continue to be active for 3 whole months? Like, if cells replace themselves in a lot of cases more than that. Yeah. There's definitely some gaps in my knowledge of how that works. Aye, there you go. Fair. Was the tattoo anything interesting? Meaningful? Just a wee dot on you or something? So I'm not really one for tattoos, but if I was gonna get one, it would just be a ruler on my forearm so I can measure bolts and stuff. Ah, that's nice. Whereabouts? In your forehead, or? I'd be a bit brash, wouldn't it? Metric. Just like a series of lines, basically. Nice. Um, uh, like, I understand from, like, jabs and things where the whole point is that it, like, your body creates an immune response, and therefore that, is whatever. But um, uh, for this sort of medication, I don't know. There is a gap in my knowledge. Oh, very nice, very nice. Exactly. We aimed it right. Yeah. I feel around for the pelvises and go, no, over there. Wasn't the 5G Wi-Fi jab for hot shingles in Bill Gates' area supposed to last for 6 months? Um, well, I think that was because the virus itself was meant to mutate to the point where the original the jab might not have been very helpful anymore, and therefore you need another one. But aye. Oh, dear me. What a chat. Oh dear. Well, I'm getting kind of sore. And I'm getting remarkably Scottish. So I think I am going to ache my way off of here. Um, aye. I'm like I said, I'll let you know. Not next week, but the week after, because I'm having eye surgery, and we'll see how it goes. Um, and stores in fat. That's a good point. Aye, aye. But aye. I hope you all have a lovely week. I hope you all stay safe. I hope you all have fun. Just want to remind you that we still can't buy a 5090. And aye. Catch you all on the next stream. Right. Bye, guys.